Welcome everyone. For this week's tech tip of the week, we'll be discussing the deflection connector by rule. First and foremost, I just wanted to mention, because I get this error very often, when we are copying a member from the Revit menu, we need to always remember that anytime we're copying a member, it will always keep the same identification information as the original member. And in certain features in MWF, where only two members are needed to be able to generate a tool, it will create an error. So let me show you how to avoid this. So we'll click. If you notice over here on the beam that we just copied, you noticed in your Revit properties menu, you'll have the identification information, which I clearly removed ahead of time. But let me just show you from scratch how this is done. So here we go in our Revit menu, copy the item over here. And as you can see, we have the identification information. This identification information is the same as the original. To avoid any errors with our tool, we'll go into the properties menu of that member, delete, 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 and delete. And now we have an independent member to be able to start using our tool. So I'm using the Revit 2020 7096 build. So we will go and select our new member here and our stud. In our MWF Pro Suite menu, we'll go into our wall model menu, into Tools, Create Deflection Connector by Rule. By default, a dialog box will come up in order to give you the option of giving it a specific name. By default, Deflection Connector -1 will always come up, so we'll choose that for now. And a dialog box will come up giving us different properties that we can set for this rule. So here are the properties you can set for the beam elevation and extension, start justification, spacing, stud attachment. By default, everything will always be at the center, website, and 1 foot of spacing. In our connector properties, you have the beam axial angle, flip facing, horizontal justification, vertical justification, the family type, bottom extension, family type, top extension, family type for the side clip, and by default, we always have the beam with clip. You can also choose just the beam or the clip, but by default, and most of us use the beam with clip. So we're gonna go ahead and press OK. And this will generate our rule for every single member on this panel. Now, now that you can see, there's an offset with the C channels connecting to the beam because when we copied our beam, we copied it exactly parallel as a parallel offset of the original. So how we can change that is we can go over here, select our beam, and just go ahead and lower it. Now we won't regenerate just yet because we're going to change the orientation of our C channel, because as you saw before, oops, we'll have to start over here to our beam. Whoops. Sorry about that. You'll notice that they are not attaching as they should be. So we'll go ahead and do that here. Change the orientation, and as you can see, the orientation has changed and the members are connecting as they should be, and the clips are connecting to the beam as well. Now again, just to go back to what I was previously saying, we'll select our beam, we'll give it an offset, select our panel, go to our wall model menu and just regenerate. And as you can see, our deflection connector rule has adjusted to the new offset. And that is the deflection connector by rule for our tech tip of the week. Thanks for tuning in, and see you next week.